Good evening, all, and welcome to week 4, day 1. Uh, so, sorry for yesterday. We'll make it up for the Linux class tomorrow. So, we have looked at different, coming from where we are coming from, we have looked at different topics. We've taken essentials of Python, and we have actually taken some other trainings. So, I don't know if you guys have been treating quiz questions, but I just said I should just draw your attention today to what it looks like. I think I have some penned down here. Okay, so we only have 3 people. Sorry. Let me give me some time for them to come in. So, good evening once more. I think we're going to do some. Sorry. before we start, we took port scanner. We're supposed to take vulnerability scanner this week. But before we do it, I want to just point your attention to what your examinations will be like. Can you all see my screen? Now, this is actually a scenario test on Python. You understand? So normally they will just tell you to actually complete the script. Are you seeing import request from so and so import beautiful stuff? You see the reason why it's actually always good to teach you how to. Now, when you finish, you run the test yourself, you submit the solution. Are you getting it? So it's why when we take the pain to teach you this way, it's not really, it's because to get those juicy jobs, you pass through something like this. Now, come and look at something like this. This is another kind of scenario. This is scenario-based cybersecurity interview questions, so that you can your demands of your computer. So this some of them are just general knowledge test, but this one is actually a test to show if you really know what you're doing when it comes to Python coding. So when we're taking pains to, it's not really when the mouse of your computer screen starts to move around on its own and click on things on your desktop. What do? When you click on it, it shows disconnect your computer from the network and tell your supervisor if possible to turn off the computer. So there are questions like this. Someone used their Yahoo account on a laptop computer. She made sure her Yahoo account was no longer open in the browser before leaving. Someone came in behind and used the same browser to. These are interview scenario questions. At least at the basic level, she probably did not log in out of another visible possibilities that she. So these are things you can actually just on your own start building capacity with what you've known, because those currently working don't have exposure to what you have, but you're still building capacity. So what we'll be taking today, we'll be revising the port scanner. We'll actually import it, like all this stuff you see, import. It's people's program. So you will import the one you have written, you will import it into another program and run it today. Then we now from there, once we finish, I will now move into the beginning of what vulnerability scanner. So that program you've written, you will import it into another program, like you have been importing other programs. So that is where we're going to start. I think there's another, I'm trying to, there's 160 questions. I'm not seeing it anymore. I'm just looking at interview questions so that you can start getting used to what it's like. It's good you start practicing, and so that you know the kind of questions you want to ask. So your questions are basically what's going to drive you to your destination, not just ambiguous, irrelevant questions. So I think the other one that talks about the programming, let me share it with you. So as you are learning, there are lots of challenge sites where you go actually do challenge and to actually try out how you've mastered your skills. So those are points of personal build-up on your own. Now, last week we looked at port scanner. This week we'll be taking vulnerability scanner. Now, vulnerability scanner is actually importing the port scanner into vulnerability scanner, but you convert the port scanner code into what we call a class code. You convert it into a class code. So you convert it into a class code, then you now actually you convert the port scanner into a class code, then you now actually write the code, import the code into the vulnerability scanner, and actually write some stuff. But in the vulnerability scanner, you take a list of all the vulnerabilities. So as the port scanner is actually scanning the site, it brings up a vulnerability, a banner. The vulnerability matches with it. Now it tells that this particular banner is vulnerable, so you can now exploit it. So that's part of the vulnerability scanner. By the time you start going through the question, one of the questions actually asks you something about if you want to actually test ports and all this stuff. So if you can build those tools yourself, there's no question around it you cannot answer. And most especially if you run into a scenario where they ask you to actually build the code. You should be able to write the code on your own, not copy and paste. So let's go back to, I hope everybody has his stuff up and running. So I think I'll first bring up the first one, because I've actually done some level of modifications to most of them. Because you keep modifying it, you will convert it to class, that same one you wrote. So this is what we wrote the last time. Sorry, I've actually, you can see I've modified this last part. I think this is what we need to first do. If you see this last part, because we are importing it to another as a code. Please, if you can hear me, just tell me yes, please. If you can hear me, just tell me yes. My WhatsApp handle on this place is not on. Let me try to bring it on. So because we are importing it as a code to the next, to another script. Now, this particular line here, we actually now put an if statement. Now, if we are using it on this statement, on this as a primary script, it will actually treat this. Now, if we are not using it, it will not actually handle that part. That's what that particular code means. So you can actually either copy, leave this particular one, your first one, as a prototype. Now, copy it and actually tab this. Sorry, 1 minute, please. Copy and tab this to it, so that you can be importing it to other. You'll be importing it. Most of the scripts you write, you import it to another script you are writing. So all those libraries you have been importing, people wrote them, so you don't need to actually rewrite them. You can just import. So you import the one you have written in the name you have written it. Sorry, I'm trying to load my WhatsApp here. Sorry, please, if you follow what I'm saying, just tell me. You agree with me that the last time we actually had a meeting, this is not how this place is. So I have actually wrote an if underscore underscore name underscore underscore equals open quotation, then underscore underscore main underscore underscore. Now you now tab it. You tab it. So once you tab it, then that's just all you need to do. So what that particular place is doing to that stuff is simply, telling you that if you are using this particular script, you are running it on its own, then it should actually take that part, because those are the inputs. This is the input. Now, if you are importing it to another script, there's no need actually adding this input. You should actually ignore it. So that's what, because you want to start importing that particular script. So let me screenshot this part and actually. So what you need to do, you copy, then create another script. But when you are creating a script, don't create, 1 minute, I'm coming. So everything in that last is the same thing. It's just the last part that is actually, so we actually wrote an if statement. If underscore 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 name underscore underscore space equals to, then open quotation mark, then all you need to do, targets. So what it does is this: if you are not importing this script, now all it does is what? If you are not importing it, then it should treat this particular part as the input, but if you are importing it, it will override it. That is what is that it means. Now, this is how it's imported. So now, when you are writing a name, don't write anything like iPhone. Write a straight, how I put it. Write a, if you want to call it port scanner im.py, where that means where you are importing it to now. Look at this, my port scanner final.py. Let me gedit it. They are the same script, but one is port scanner iPhone. Now, if you have to import, ensure that the two files you are importing, they are in the same directory. Are you seeing? They are the same scripts, but the only difference is that this one has a straight name without any alphanumeric sign on it. So it has to be before you can import it, it has to be a straight file. Now, this is the file I imported it into. So that's the first thing we need to do, IP scan. So gedit. So when you've done that part, let me know. Then we'll now move into creating ipscan.py. Both of them are in the same directory called Python programs. So this is the only 3 line that you write. I have imported port scanner final. That is what I called it. Now, IP equals what? We are trying to look at google.com. You can change it to any website. Now, port scanner final.scan.ip. When you run this, it will actually do what? Or let me change it to. Let me change it to scisec.net. So let's clear Python. What's happening? Oh, sorry. Yeah, it's the website address is wrong. So that's it. The website address was wrong. So you see, it has started scanning. So that means we imported. You see, we imported the old. What I did was to import the old Python into that particular this new script, and actually run it. So that's the first thing I think we should do. That's the first thing I think we should do before we now move into. That's the last thing that's left to be done before we now move into the topic, the script for the week. So before we move on from this Python port scanner, does anybody have any question on it so that we can look at it and actually treat it, round it up? If we round it up before we now move into vulnerability scanner. So if we go back again to this is the script. Now I will ask some questions. How many functions do we have in this script? How many functions? How many functions do we have? One, two, three, four, We have what? Now, what are the functions? What are those four functions doing? Because most of the time, when you get to scenario level, they will just four functions. Now, what is the scan function doing? What is the importance of the scan function? What is the scan function? Let me be taking it step by step. Now, this is function 1. What is this function doing? What is its responsibility? Can somebody explain it? What is that first function doing? I think I gave out a note for your consumption so that you can be able to look at it and understand what it's doing. We can still change this to 500. We can change this to 500. Now, what this thing is doing is scanning the IP address. Now, it's taking the IP address. IP address is the target. Let's be specific, Mr. Gbenga. That answer looks too ambiguous. That's actually what you said is actually what the old script is doing. Now, that particular function, it said converted IP. What it simply means is, yes, Mr. Ejike, that's more specific. It actually takes what? Translated IP. That means it's either if you are giving it IP or you are typing domain name, the function responsible for actually checking it up and actually checking the port is what? The scan function. Now, the check IP function, its main importance is what? It takes domain name and returns what? IP address. It's not the one who actually scan. Now, the second function, the importance is what? It takes domain name and returns the IP address. Now, that means the most important function in the script is what? It is scan function. Now, we have the scan port. The scan port, what is the scan port function? Now, I'm sure we all know the get banner, the third function, which is what? The get banner function. That is what? That's the banner grabber. So if you break it down into functions like this, and you can write the script first, you can write the codes of the function, now, if you know that the port scanner has four functions, you have the scan function, you have the scan port function, you have the get banner function, and you have the IP function, check IP function. Now, if you know it and you know the commands and the parameters, putting the old script together will be a walkover. So there are four functions in it, because most of the time they just tell you to complete. Now, that's the scan port function, because it's from the scan function the scan port function is coming out, because in the scan port function, that's where you call up scanning the port. So the scan function is the most important. Every other thing falls into the scan function. So the scan port function is to properly scan the IP address and the port and print out. While finally we now have what? We now have the input variable. We now finally have the input variable. So what I want you guys to do is now, before we leave this place, what you do is simply copy this particular script so that you create another script. Now, this last part I am pasting, modify your script to actually fit this last part. Then when you finish that, let me know before I'm now going to importing it into another script. So let's get that done very fast. So copy the script into another script. You can name it port scanner IMP. That means import.py. You can call it port scanner. You can call it port scanner imp, that means import.py. So that's the one you are actually importing. Then you now change the input variable into that last stuff I've shown you. So we'll pick it up from there. Sorry, one minute. Sorry, what did you guys do? 1 minute. So let's copy that part. Let's copy that part and get that part done. Get your script into that part. Show me, run it. Show me and actually run it. Show me that it's working, it's running. Yeah. Then you now import it. We now get to the state of importing it into another script. Then from there we can now move into vulnerability scanner. So we close port scanner. Then now move into vulnerability scanner. Hello, are you guys here with me? Hello, please, if you are here with me, let me know. More like, are you here with me? So please, the last part of the script, modify it to this, to this. No. Let's actually just do this last part first. All you just need to do, don't modify, don't call it. Just modify your last part, the last part of your script. Modify it to this. Copy the old script into another script. Modify the last part to this. Then run it normally first. Okay, what I mean is this. It has been modified. Okay, then run the script. Run the script. First run the script first. Run it as a main script, not importing it. Run it as a main script. The last part of the script, modify it to this, then run it normally. Okay, let me be sure others are actually at that point. Can you screenshot it and show it to me on WhatsApp, please? Let me be sure others are at that point. If everybody has modified the last part of the script, I think what we should do, everybody here should actually run a script, then show me screenshot the script and send to me, so that we can be sure we are all on the same page. We have a lot of time today, so let's be sure we are making progress, because once you've moved over port scanner, we are not coming. A lot is built. It's a foundation. A lot is built on it. ARP, vulnerability scanner, keylogger, backdoor, everything is built on it. Most of those scripts are interwoven. So let's be sure. Okay, then Then show me the Python environment. Mr. Bonawe, can you show me the Python environment of what you just did, highlighting the last part of the script? Are we all at that point? So because you have to tab it very well. It's the same thing. All you just need to do is type the name, then you now tab it the way it is, then run it. Okay, all right, that's fine. So let me see from somebody else, please. Let me see from somebody else. Okay, okay. All right. Two people have gotten it. Sorry. Let me see. Chukunonso, Mr. Godwin, Mrs. Temitope, Mrs. Grace, Mr. Adeniji, I believe Mr. Yusuf, Mr. Adeleke, Mr. Fegbeson, and Mr. This thing is not here. Mr. Fegbeson and Mr. Um, Akintayo. Akintayo is not here. So please, can you? Okay, it's here. So please, if you all are actually okay with this junction, just type yes. I need to actually have everybody type yes and your name. Type yes that you are okay up to this junction. You don't have any problem. You don't need any explanation up to this junction. Type yes and your name. I'm talking to. Okay, can you show us your this thing? Can you show us your back end, Mr. Chukunonso? Sorry, Mr. Godwin. Okay. It means we are all learning. Mrs. Grace Ademefe, Mrs. Temitope, Mr. Jesu Pemi, Mr. Awo, sorry, if I'm not mistaken your name, Ade Fisoye, Mr. Ade Fisoye, okay, Olaleko, Mr. Olaleko Ilori is not here. Okay. Okay. So I just want to be sure we're all learning because a lot is built on it. So if you don't know it, it will be useless moving forward. So Mr. Jesu Pemewale, then Mr. Akitayo Abi, because when we start converting it to class, it's going to change. A lot is going to change when we convert this script to class, because you can't import this the way it is. We are going to convert it to class. A lot will change. So it's good you know this basic format before we move into other formats. We're going to convert it to class. I think you have a problem, Mrs. That thing, is it working? Mrs. Grace Adimefe, are you sure your script is working? Because it is not properly tabbed. It's not properly tabbed. This is what worked for me, though. That was what worked for me, though. It looks like your stuff is not properly tabbed. Maybe because there's a space in between those two websites. But that was what worked for me. I think you should tab it because you start having problem when you are importing it. I think you should hello, Mrs. Grace, at Mrs. Grace, please do it the way you see it in the example. You will have problem when you are importing it. Yeah, you will have problem when you import it into another script, you have problem. So do it the way you saw it in the example. Ensure that those other if fall under. Okay, sorry, one minute. Your if on line 37 should fall under target, then the else should start from that place. Now take a clue from this one. I don't know, can you see the script? Now, are you seeing the if on line 37 of my own is under target? Now the 4, so you just shift them forward. All you do is you shift the whole script forward. Do you now understand? So that's just that. You shift the old script forward. If you don't do it that way, you have problem when you are actually importing it. Okay, that's fine, Mrs. Temitope. Can I see your backend? You have problem when you import it to other script. It will be actually running it as main script. Can you show me your main script? Okay, that's the way it should be. More like you're using a desktop. Are you using a desktop? Mrs. Temitope, I said you should not name your script. You have problem when you are importing it. It's either you copy this and put it. You can call it class 22.py. Don't put any alphanumeric sign in it. It will not import. You understand? So you see this my own. It's a pure port scanner final.py. Don't put any alphanumeric in the name. It will not import. Now, if we are okay with that, I've saved this. Now, you create another script called what? Gedit ipscan.py. You write another, after writing this one and saving it, you write gedit ipscan.py. You click enter. So now the first thing is do that name of that your script, whatever you call it, you first what import it into this particular place. There's no need to add py. After actually declaring your kernel, now import that particular script, whatever it is, but ensure the gedit and this particular and your format, they are in the same directory. They must be in the same directory. Let me close. Now, this is Python programs directly. If you ls, you see my ipscan.py, you see port scanner final.py. They are in the same directory. So they must be in the same directory. Now, when you go back to gedit, so when you go back to gedit, when you go back to gedit, once you import it now, all you just need to do, there are only 3 codes there you write. You import the file, you say IP equals any website you want to scan. Now you come back and say the name of that your script. If it's scan2y, scan2y.scan, open bracket IP. Like I said in the format script, the scan function is the major function because it carries every other thing in it. So is a major function. So these are the 3 scripts. Once you've imported it, all you need to do is to write these 3 stuff. Then you now run it. Okay. So those are the 3 scripts. The first one, let me just label it so that you get it. Now this port scanner final is the name of your script. Now this same, you still repeat it here. So whatever you name it, then this is the website you want to actually look at. So those are the things, 3 things so that is how you import it and you just run it. So you don't need to repeat any code. It will run by itself. So if we can all do that, we now move into the topic for the week, which is what? Vulnerability scanner.
Mr. Ikem, please, I want to ask a question. That's why I shared that. I have one of the on this one class 3 py dot this thing, and the other one on the post kind of IMP. Will it work if I import 2 of them like that?
No, you cannot import. You only import 1 script, please. You are importing one script. If which one did you do last? This last activity we did, which one of it?
Postcolor AMP
Okay, that
UI.
is what you should import. You import port scanner IMP. So if you are creating a new Python file, you write gedit gedit ipscan.py. Now the first thing after declaring your kernel, import port scanner IMP. That's what you need to do. Yes, Mr. Bola, can you show us your virtual environment? Can you show us your Python environment? Show us your Python environment. Mrs. Grace, show us your Python environment. Okay, that's okay. Okay, that's fine. That's fine. Mr. Ekene. Okay, all right. I think we are making progress. So I think this brings us to the end of what the port scanner project. So I'll pause a little for just 5 minutes to find out if there is any other question left on this project. So if you have questions, just give me 5 minutes. Let me get something. Mr. Solomon. So if you have any question, just give me 5 minutes. Let me get. Okay. Can you share your issues? Share your issues on the screen, please. Okay, Mr. Sorry, 1 minute. Okay. I'm not sure I understand your problem, Mr. Solomon. You said you did update and you lost some stuff, but I can see your scripts here and I can see.
Let me boss.
Yeah.
My
So
my my question is, I did some update like ATP update on my system this afternoon, and I'm just logging in to check my Python programs now. I can't find any of my scripts there anymore. I just wrote that one that I sent, and it's giving me different issues. It's saying my line 13 is not correct.
your what? What I'm seeing here, can you send the okay, you've sent the line 13. Let's look at the
Yes,
line.
yes.
Okay, class, let's treat this. Where is it? Why is your stuff numbered this way? It's not evenly numbered. Starting 1 to 10, 1 to 10, 1 to 10. Where is your scan port? I'm not seeing any line 13. Hello, I'm not seeing any line 13 here. Okay. I think this particular script is an old script. You understand? This script you are actually seeing is an old script. This is not the last one we did. Hello, Mr. Solomon, can you hear me? This is not the last one we did because the first script you have there is what? So I think you should go back and actually watch the video and build the script. You are taking us some steps back. Is everybody here? Is everybody here? Or I'm just the only one here? Nobody's talking. So let me clear. So this is what we have, Mr. So that particular stuff you actually have is more like the old one, because the first function you have is not scan. So this is actually the new script. This is the recent script. So I wonder how you lost your, are you sure you saved it in the directory? Because there's no way you can actually do updates and you. Okay, so sir, please, why is it that when we run our script, we don't always get the same answer for ports that are open, despite that we are running the same website? Okay, not all ports are actually carrying banner. You understand? Are you getting it? So that you get what you are trying to do now. when you are scanning a website, the IP of the website, different services are hosted on different ports. Now, not all ports are actually carrying banner, and not all ports are open, as you can see. The ones some are open, but you don't have access to what services is running. Are you getting it? Now, the ones that you actually have access, that the software can actually grab what is there, it grabs it. Are you getting it? So not all ports. So for the benefit of Mr. Copy. So this is the script. But I think I have actually sent you, I have sent you, I sent the, port scanner stuff on the last time we had a meeting. So for the benefit of Mr. Solomon, you can help yourself with this. So these are the script. That's the update of the script. You need to actually update. So change your script to that. That's what's running. So now, Mrs. Temitokpe, do you now understand what I mean? Now, why we scan ports is we want to know which port is open. Now, if it's open, what software is running on it? Now, the software running on it, we want to grab the banner. That is what you use the port scanner to do. To say, okay, this banner is it. Now, on the other side of vulnerability scanner, you will use the port scanner to scan all those ports that are open. Now, you have a list of vulnerabilities. Now, when they match, you know, say, oh, this particular port is open and this particular software is vulnerable. Now, you collect a list of vulnerability. As you are scanning the ports, the ones that is open is matching it. So that's actually how you know. So there's a list of vulnerability. It can be up to 1 million. You keep scanning them. So I don't know if I've answered your question. Please, if I've answered the question, just tell me, yes, you have. Hello, please, have I answered your question? Are we still here, or I'm the only one here? Have I answered your question? Hello? Mrs. Temitokpe, have I answered your question? The IP scan script is just the same thing like the port scanner script. They are the same script. I'm just using the IP scan script to show you how you import one script into the other script. They are the same thing. So that's what I just used it to do example for you. Now we are moving into another script totally for this we call vulnerability scanner. Do you now understand? So they do the same thing. I'm just using it to show you how you import one script into another script. They are the same stuff. So please, Mrs. Temitokpe, are you still here with us or you are somewhere else? The person I've not spoken to is Mr. Afegbe. So I wonder where he is. So we move to the other topic called what? Vulnerability scanner. So create another directory. You can close this. So you can just repeat the process we did. I believe you understand the process we did. So, or you just watch, follow the video and actually follow that process. We're actually moving on to vulnerability scanner. So first thing you do is you go back to the root. You have to create another directory. I think I've already created one. That should be. Okay, I call it Vul scanner. VULN to clear. You make it that you create a directory called what? Vul scanner. I call mine Vul scanner. So as you can see, if I ls, that's my stuff. I have copied it onto this place. So we go back and I'll show how you people know how to copy from. So can you turn off your mic, please? So go back to root and create a directory. Can you mute yourself, please?
VULN. Okay, scan. Okay. VUL.
Whose stuff is on? Can you all mute your mic, please?
See me now.
You don't mute your mic. Mama does unmute. Unmute means you don't mute your mic.
Who is that person making noise in this place? I won't allow anybody to talk again on this platform.
Daddy, your instructor in my voice.
Yes. Head across.
And what was he saying?
Who is that? Who is this person? I'm sorry, I have to close this. I have to close this meeting. The next meeting we'll be having will not be using voice anymore.